Day number 3 of the Halacha Yomi, Baruch Hashem. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We are up to page 49. We were discussing the laws of tasting the Shabbat food before Shabbat. So Halacha 18. When tasting the food that is for Shabbat, one does not have to recite a bracha upon tasting, even if he swallows. So that means that a person, let's say, is trying to fulfill the mitzvah of tasting the food erev Shabbat. So if he's doing it just for the sake of the mitzvah of tasting food for Shabbat, he doesn't have to make a bracha, even if he's going to swallow. However, if one eats a kazayit of food, 28 grams, or if he eats, 2.8 ounces, fluid ounces of liquid, then he has to say a bracha when he eats it, even though he's doing it only for the reason of making sure the Shabbat food tastes good. In order to be obligated in reciting a bracha, however, one should have intention to benefit from the food even when he's only tasting a very small amount. So the proper thing to do is to have in mind that I want to taste yummy food, I want to eat something, and then I also have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah of tasting food before Shabbat. So therefore, that way you can for sure make a bracha even though you're going to eat a very little amount. But if you're eating it only for the sake of the mitzvah, you don't really have intention for it to get benefit from it, so then technically, if you eat less than Revi'it or less than Kazayit, you don't have to make a bracha. Okay, good. 19. When the fast of the 10th of Tevet, right, that's a fast day, is on a Friday, you're still allowed, one may taste the Shabbat food without citing a bracha and spit it out, right? You're not allowed to swallow it, one may not swallow it. It's a fast day, so you can't swallow the food. But the problem is, I want to taste the food, so I know the food for Shabbat is good. So you're allowed to taste the food, just spit it out, and you don't make a bracha. 20. One may even taste the meat or chicken prepared for Shabbat and Erev Shabbat Chazon, right? That's the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av. So usually that week of Tisha B'Av, we don't eat meat. So let's say your Erev Shabbat Chazon, right? We still taste the meat or the chicken prepared for Shabbat, even though we don't usually eat meat, to ensure that it's not lacking anything. Likewise, one may taste the Shabbat food on the 10th of Av. So over there, also there's a custom on 10th of Av not to have meat. Still, if it's a Friday, you will still be allowed to taste the food on that day. Okay. 21. Before Shabbat, it is permitted to eat from the food that was prepared for Shabbat, provided that one ensures there'll be enough food remaining for Shabbat. Okay, so you're allowed to taste the food from before Shabbat, eat some of it if you're hungry. Just be careful that you shouldn't become full, because if you become full, then you won't be able to eat the meal in the evening. A lot of times people don't eat all day, sadly, on Friday. Maybe they're fasting, but so they'll fast till Shabbat. But a person has to make sure to pace himself properly. That way he comes with an appetite for Shabbat. A lot of people, they don't eat all day, they forget to eat, and they get all busy with their work. They come home starving, and they see their wife made gosh gezeh, and then they go and they eat 5-6 gosh gezeh, get stuffed, and then they have no matzav ruach, they have no desire to eat the Shabbat meal at night. So that person has to be careful. If you want to eat a little bit of Shabbat food, eat a little bit, and make sure that you don't get full. Okay, let's turn the page. We're up to Halacha 22, page 50. Part of the mitzvah of baking challah, part of the mitzvah of honoring Shabbat is to make a dough on Erev Shabbat that is large enough to be able to fulfill the mitzvah of Rashat Challah. This is a Ramah in Siman Resh Membet, that a person has to make sure to try to make Challah Erev Shabbat. Why? This is in order to be able to fix the. I'm sorry, 1 second over here. Yes, thank you. I apologize for that. Okay, so this is in order to make the mitzvah of Challah for the woman. The woman specifically have a tikkun. Right, we're going to see in a second. The amount of flour that must be used in order to fulfill this mitzvah is 1.56 kilo of flour. That comes out to around 3.5 pounds. There are some opinions say that you take challah from 5 pounds of flour, but according to Sfaradim, according to Shulchan Aruch, it's 1.56 kilo, which is around 3.5 pounds. That's what you do challah with a bracha. One only has to separate a minute amount for the mitzvah of Rashat Challah. It doesn't have to be a certain amount. Even though the Mishnah in Maseh Challah says 1/24th, but we do a minute amount, and it should be set aside and burned. It's not right to throw it away. Preferably, you should burn it if possible. All truma that's tameh, that's usually the rule. We burn it. That's what the Mishnah says. But you preferably should burn it, and if not possible, so then it's permitted to throw out. Wrap it up and throw it out, but preferably should be burned. Let's see note 28. the Ramah and Resh Membet. Darkei Moshe states this custom was actually instituted by Ezra Sofer. However, the Magen Avram says that it's learned from the Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, and that was the custom of the wife, Rabbi Chanina Medosa, to bake challah every Erev Shabbat. The Mishnah Berurah writes that a woman should do the Hafrashat Challah in order to atone for the sin of Chava, who came into being on Friday, and she ruined the challah of the world. Who was the first challah? Adam. Adam was like a challah. He was made from dirt, like a dough, and then Hashem breathed into him life force, and then he came into Adam. So she ruined that. So therefore, she does mitzvah challah in order to atone for that. A lot of people today, they just are lenient to buy bread from the store. But we see from here that it's preferable that a lady should make time for challah. What if she says, I have no time to make challah? Says, let's read number 23. If one does not have enough time to complete all the preparations on Friday, including baking challah, then it is better to do the other preparations on Thursday and have time to bake the challah specifically on Friday. So there, usually we say you should prepare on Friday all the Shabbat preparations. But if in order to be able to do mitzvah hafrashat challah, you need more time, so start doing all the preparations Thursday. That way you'll have time on Friday to do hafrashat challah. Okay, very good. 31. See Halacha Brura. See Biur Halacha, who states it's better for one to bake their own challah than buying it from the bakery. See, so women should push themselves to make their own instead of buying it. Okay, 24 in Halacha. It is better to make a lot of challahs in order to perform hafrashat challah, even if one does not need so much, and will have to freeze the remaining challah for later weeks. Okay, so if you have to use 1.56 kilo of flour, it'll make a lot of challah, and the lady says, I don't need so much challah. So you still should make a lot of challah, freeze them. That way you could make the bracha, hafrashat challah, and do the mitzvah. 32, the note on the bottom, Halacha Brura, Shraga Meir adds, and when warming up the challah in later weeks, one should say that she's doing so in the honor of Shabbat. Okay, back up top, 25. One who's generally lenient to eat bread which was baked by a non-Jew, non-Pat Israel, should be stringent on Shabbat to eat bread which was baked by a Jew, was Pat Israel. So therefore, it's proper to do that chumrah for the honor of Shabbat, that stringency. Okay, we have, moving on to the next section, 26. Doing laundry on Erev Shabbat. The Chachamim instituted one should wash the laundry on Thursday or on any other day preceding Friday, in order that one will be able to focus on Friday with the preparation of Shabbat. Laundry day usually takes a lot out of your time. So the Chachamim, Ezra Sofer, instituted that you shouldn't be busy with laundry on Friday. However, since nowadays the laundry is washed with a washing machine, it's not as time consuming as washing by hand, one may even wash his clothes on Friday. Interesting, even though we have washing machines today, we still need cleaning ladies to do our laundry for us with the washing machines. Used to be washing where laundry was in the river with those bars of soap and by hand and the buckets. That took a long time to dry and to wash. But even though we have washing machines today, it's still hard to keep up with all the amount of laundry. But it's enough. It's permitted. It's still faster enough to be permitted to do it on Friday. 34. Talmud Bavli Shabbat 82a and Shulchan Aruch Resh Membet state that Ezra Sofer instituted one should wash his clothing in honor of Shabbat on Thursday before Shabbat. Magen Avram says the main institution of Ezra was not that one must wash his clothing, since despite his institution, there's already a mitzvah to wear clean clothing on Shabbat. Rather, the purpose of this rule was that one should wash his clothing on Thursday as opposed to washing on Friday, in order that one will have more time on Friday to focus on the preparations of Shabbat. Eliyahu Rabbah, on the other hand, states that all Ezra intended was the laundry should not be left for Friday, because they'll disrupt the Shabbat preparations, but one does not that one needs to make a point of specifically laundering specifically on Thursday. Okay, so if you have clean clothes, or if you have time on Friday, that's the whole idea. Either you should come to clean clothes on Shabbat, or you should have time on Friday to prepare for Shabbat. In any case, most poskim agree that it all depends on how much time one has. If one is able to do the laundry and properly prepare for Shabbat, then there's no issue of doing laundry on Friday. 27 on top. It's preferable to do laundry on Thursday and not before Wednesday, in order to show that one is doing so in the honor of Shabbat. So once it's Wednesday, it's already getting close to Shabbat, and it's called doing it in the honor of Shabbat. So maybe like a haircut too. Maybe a haircut would be better to do also or at least on Wednesday and on. 28. Even washing by hand, one may wash his clothing on Friday if he has no other clothing for Shabbat. And then 29, suits or pants, which can be worn repeatedly without becoming dirty, are not required to be cleaned on a weekly basis. So if it's clean and you didn't get a stain, so you're allowed to wear that suit again next week without laundering it. But if it got dirty, so then yeah, you should clean it. You shouldn't wear dirty clothes on Shabbat. 37. Even though the Mishnah Berurah Meshmem Bet points out that it's implied in the institution of Ezra, one must wear clean clothing every Shabbat. His intention was for garments which are only soiled, such as undergarments. Garments which are generally kept clean, such as a suit, don't have to be cleaned on a weekly basis. But if you get a stain, maybe you could spot clean it and just make sure that you don't come to Shabbat with that stain. Okay, we'll stop over here. Next time we're going to pick up with cleaning the house every Shabbat. Chazak Baruch, everybody. See you tomorrow. Chazak Baruch.